City of Riverside Council together for June 7th to order, and we'd like to ask Mr. Kirk to please lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Kirk. Next thing on the agenda is consider approval of the minutes for May 17th, 2012. Is there a motion? Approve the minutes? It's been moved by Mr. Kirk. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Deputy Mayor Denning. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, there's a correction on the absenteeism of Mike Smith. It was noted later on through the discussion of the minutes there under Mr. Byington explaining where he was, at right now, but there's nothing up there on where he was during the excused absent members, item 3. So I would like to have that corrected and amended where he was located. He was out there in the summer conference for the National League of Cities First Tier Steering Committee in California. So I would like to have that put up on item 3 for the correction.
Is that okay, Mr. Kirk?
I think it's appropriate. You can't go back and change, put into the minutes things that didn't occur. If there was no comments that were made at that point in time, you can't now go back and put in comments that were made.
Okay.
Well, I thought the mayor did mention to it, but I checked with the clerk. Did you hear it, or
I can't say if I heard it or not.
I thought he did. I thought you mentioned.
It did occur when Mr. Byington was home.
I thought I did mention that he wasn't here.
Right, he wasn't here because he was at a conference.
I usually do that when there's an absentee.
Right, and I thought you did, but again, I don't record it, and so
Here,
that's
right
why.
here it is, it's bottom.
Well, I know it's in that section, but it was also, I thought the mayor mentioned too, that he was in that conference. Now, anybody else has any, do you recollect that, Mr. Kirk? Because he usually does do that. I mean, he usually explains where they're at.
I know that, but I also know the clerk was very accurate in putting together the minutes, and we already have it covered elsewhere in the minutes, so I'm not sure why we're picking the minutes.
Okay.
Okay, I tend to agree. Okay.
Okay.
All right. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Okay, next thing on the agenda is, before we go to the rest of the agenda, I would like to just introduce a guest that we have here. He's a council member from the city of Kettering, and he's here. He came to listen to our work session discussion on raising revenue. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Ashley Webb from the city of Kettering. Thank you for coming. Thanks. All right, the next thing on the agenda is to accept the written petitions. So if anyone wants to discuss anything that's on the agenda or off the agenda, please send up a Smith speaker registration form on each side of the diocese. We'll get to that when we get to that part of the meeting. Next thing on the agenda is a bid protest. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you are all aware, in summary for those that are not, the City of Riverside received bids for the Brentwood Section 1 project back in April of this year, which is the installation of the public infrastructure in support of the Brentwood subdivision at the Section 1 Business Park. After bids were received and evaluating references provided by the bidders, the lowest responsive bid, which was submitted by Leo B. Schrader, was determined based on an initial reference check from the references they provided as being the lowest responsive but non-best qualified bidder. As such, they were notified of their prerogative to file a formal protest to that determination. That protest was actually filed on time, but it happened to be that that was also the time when the clerk was on vacation, and so the protest, which was received on time, was not made aware to me until the following week. So in response there too, we did schedule tonight a formal opportunity for representatives from William B. Schroeder to make their presentation before council. But prior to doing so, you all received an email from staff yesterday. We requested that representatives from William B. Schroeder provide some additional information. Why the references they provided did have issues with their particular project, what methods they had undertaken to address the issues that did appear on those projects. They're supposed to provide some additional references for city staff to investigate. To that end, City Engineer Dan Point, who's been working on that throughout the day today, he does have some additional information that I think is relevant for council to hear prior to any further comments from myself. So with that, I'll actually turn the floor over to Mr. Point so that he can share with you what he was able to ascertain from the information provided to him by William B. Schroeder.
Well, welcome, Mr. Hohen. Glad you're here again, and we appreciate taking time out to discuss this with us.
I appreciate the opportunity. Throughout the day today, I've been checking on the additional 5 references that were provided yesterday evening by William B. Schroeder, and found that most of the information that was provided actually was representative of favorable work. To give some of the examples, the Weisenborn Middle School in Huber Heights, M&R is a significant subcontractor for Leo B. Schroeder on this Brantwood project that we're discussing. They are a subcontractor in this case, and the report was that everything has been going according to schedule, and coordination has not been an issue there. Most notably, I'd say that there were two projects in which this particular contract arrangement, in which Leo B. Schroeder holds the contract and M&R is a significant subcontractor, was found with the City of Springfield, and a second project with Clark State Community College, which the scope of works are similar, and in both cases, the projects have been completed on time or with reasonable weather delays, and the contractor has made every effort to keep the projects on schedule. Coordination of projects through various stakeholders, which is another concern on this project, has also not been an issue, and both reports came back very favorable on those cases. I guess in summary, the recommendation that we had made on April 25th, I would like to revise that considering the new information that we've collected today primarily, and considering the favorable feedback from those additional references, the differences in the bid amounts between the two, and the plan that's been verbally communicated at least by M&R and Leo B. Schroeder for this Brantwood project. And while the decision obviously ultimately is yours, we would offer the recommendation of the award of the contract to Leo B. Schroeder at this point. So I guess if you have any other additional questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them now, or I guess as the discussion progresses.
Any questions for Mr. Hohen? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Cohen, appreciate it. And Mr. Manager?
If you would like, Mr. Schroeder, Mr. Ken Schroeder from William B. Schroeder is also here tonight to offer any comments or to address any questions that council may have, if you so choose. I would, based on a culmination effect of several pieces of legislation and several outstanding timelines, I would ask that council tonight, based on the information that Mr. Hoyne was able to determine that we shared with you this evening, that council uphold in a formal motion Mr. Schroeder's protest and determine that based on this information that we have been able to obtain, they are in fact the lowest responsive best qualified bidder, subject to verification of financing, that the project be awarded to them in such a capacity, and that previous legislation indicating D&M, is that correct? Yes. D&M as best qualified to be presented.
So moved.
Okay. It's been moved by Deputy Mayor Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Mr. Bohlenkamp. Is there any discussion?
I kind of lost track. D&M was voted to take the job.
What happened was, and 2 meetings ago, council voted that Leo B. Schroeder, while lowest responsive bid, was not best qualified, and they had the right to protest. Okay? internal issue did not receive their protest. Even though they had submitted their protest on time, I did not know that it had arrived. As such, the following night, council passed a resolution naming D&M Excavating as lowest, best qualified bidder and giving them the contract, authorizing me to enter into the contract with D&M. When we became aware of the bid protest and its timely filing, city ordinance requires that no contract may be entered until the protest is heard and determination is made by council. So, in this instance, you have now heard the protest. Staff has recommended and council has now moved to acknowledge B.O.B. Schroeder as lowest responsive, best qualified, and therefore allowing the city, authorizing me to enter into a contract with them on behalf of the city and rescinding the legislation naming D&M lowest responsive, best qualified.
So this motion we put set forth on the floor is you're going to have legislation drawn up, presenting it, and also awarding.
The motion will have to be
This
sufficient
will
at
be,
this present
this will
time.
be,
Yes, sir. Based on other schedule requirements and timetables that are already in motion. The issue is the bids that were presented on 11th of April. Their validity expires on the 11th of June. So as of June 11th, no contractor who submitted a bid is required to honor that bid price after the 11th.
So what happens with D&M? Are we obligated to them in any way?
And that's pretty easy because they were the lowest bid.
Is there any questions for Mr. Schroeder?
And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Hoyne, D&M is aware of this situation, is that correct?
Yeah, they were made aware that upon notice of the receipt of the protest in a timely manner. We did make them aware that the protest was to be heard tonight.
Are they here?
Is there anyone here from?
I'm not aware that D&M Excavating is represented here.
And you're sure that,
I'm going to be sure I'm actually with the subcontractor.
you're sure too. Okay,
Okay, any other discussion or questions?
so the vote is on. Read
Read
the
it.
vote again, yeah.
If you could read the motion.
Motion is to uphold the bid protest submitted by B.O.B. Schroeder, award the contract to B.O.B. Schroeder, and rescind the award to D&M Excavating.
shouldn't we have that also in that motion, rescinding that resolution that we passed, the resolution, you got a 12R 1666?
I would simply say not that you would rescind that resolution, but that you would rescind naming D&M Excavating as well as best qualified. And it should be noted that I clearly heard Mr. Denning indicate that upon financing.
On financing. Background check or whatever it is.
So what you just said, does that change the motion at all?
For this
Okay.
right?
Okay, so, Madam Clerk, did you get that additional?
On financing background check,
It'll just be upon financing.
upon financing.
Okay, is that okay, Mr. Denning? Mr. Fulenkamp?
That's what I thought.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Thank you very much. We appreciate your patience.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, City Manager's Report. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Included in the packet provides my weekly manager's report. As always, you can also expect an updated copy of that tomorrow via email. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that council may have or staff as well on any particular concern.
Okay, is there any discussion for the manager?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Schott?
Yes, the one on the Airway Shopping Center,
Yes, sir.
the proposed for the relocation of the traffic light.
Yes, sir.
I need a little refresher. I looked back and I couldn't find, I need a little refresher. How far is that like going back? And for what reason, why are we moving it in the first place, et cetera, et cetera? Can I have just a real brief, couple-minute history? Sure. Thank you.
The traffic signal that is currently located in front of Goodyear, for lack of a better term, on Woodman, directly across from the auto zone, will be relocated at the expense of Mid-America Management, which is the owner and operator of Airway Shopping Center, approximately 250 feet north.
Okay, north, not south, because the south is going up. Yeah,
north towards Airway Road.
Airway Road. For what reason?
It is being relocated to create what is typically known in economic development as an outlot for the relocation of what is the retro McDonald's on the corner of Airway and Woodland, on the southwest corner. That will be demolished. A new full-service McDonald's with interior dining will be constructed at this outlot location. That is the principal purpose for the relocation of the traffic light by Mid-America, is to allow the opportunity to create more developable space, retail space out front of the road, as opposed to the space that exists there today. We estimate, based on current zoning and configuration of that property, that this light can create a maximum of, it is 8 outlots, which would account for, based on current construction figures, generalized $8.5 to $9 million in new construction just in Airway Shopping Center area alone.
What about the other side of the road? Are we going to put like an avenue down through so people can go to the make it easier to go to the bank, go to Goodyear, go to Infocision, down, and also the motorcycle shop too?
Well, the traffic light will be reconfigured to a four-way stop, which will include an improved entrance to Airway, or to Infocision. As a condition to allowing the traffic light to be relocated, the city has stipulated to the owners of Infocision that they must allow an ingress and egress easement to Goodyear, who will lose the ability for left turn out, so that their traffic has the ability to utilize the light. Okay. I cannot say with any definitivity that we as a city have discussed with any of those property owners at a service road or a business drive, if you will, away from the public thoroughfare. What I can tell you is that the Airway TIF, which Council has acted on and been briefed on previously, the funds that would be generated by the TIF could be used to create such a plan and construct such a drive in the event that Council were to approve that long term. So some of the traffic issues which may result or which may need to be addressed long term as that area grows, that is what the TIF funds are being set aside to do, in part.
Yeah, but how soon, well, see, then for that short period of time, I'm going to say, the businesses are going to suffer down through there because they don't have a decent access road in front of them, you know, the Goodyear, the bank. Let's go even, I would like to see it go up, well, it can't go all the way up to Old Hickory because that's too small of an area. But, you know, just start at the bank and go back for the access area for that driveway. But it's, you know, you're going to put that light in, and they're going to have their driveway on. They have to go through Infocision to get in and out.
Not correct. They will have ingress and egress abilities from Goodyear, as will Airway Shopping Center patrons who are leaving by the auto zone. There will be restricted turn conditions, but several of those turn restrictions already exist for other businesses that are currently in that area.
Right, well, that's when we
And-
move up further up,
and
like the
so-
bank and.
And so, for instance, the bank in and of itself, right now, while you can enter in right turn, and you can enter in left turn, there is no left turn exit from Choice One, or from Chase Bank.
Chase Bank, right.
Okay, so what we and that currently the same issue exists, but it's flip-flop. So right now, you can right turn in to InfoCision, and you can left turn in from InfoCision, but you cannot left turn out from InfoCision. So all we're doing is flip-flopping. And currently, there is no legal agreement between Goodyear and InfoCision to allow Goodyear, for Goodyear to allow InfoCision traffic to cut across their property and utilize that light. So while we are swapping those conditions and allowing the light to be moved and swap those conditions, we have compelled a legal requirement for InfoCision to allow Goodyear access from their property utilizing the light until such time as Goodyear will be restored left-hand egress rights in whatever capacity that might be.
What about the motorcycle shop?
They're not impacted by this project. Their conditions remain the same today as they will after the installation.
Except that the light will be about right there.
The light will actually be basically where the current InfoCision sign is today. So InfoCision will
Well,
be
probably where the
impacted,
dance
right.
place.
And the Celtic Academy is also impacted, but not in any way that they are not already limited. They have some very unique ingress, egress issues to begin with how their lot was cut. So no one is, no one is negatively impacted by the relocation of this light. As a matter of fact, it is both to Goodyear's benefit and to InfoCision's benefit that the light is relocating and compelling ingress egress.
Is there going to be directional signs for that on that side of the road, on the west side of that road? Allow them to know that's the new way to get into, InfoCision, Goodyear, the bank?
They'll be required to properly flag new signal locations, and there'll be additional paint markings and signs that will be installed, if I remember correctly. Now, how many, I can't recall. I have to look at the plans and probably.
I don't remember, yeah, I haven't seen the print in very long, so maybe we can do a refresh on the print and take a look at it. So, can we do that?
I believe I have an 8.5 by 11 of the final marking plan, so I can scan that in and provide it to you as part of my range report tomorrow.
I would appreciate that, thank you so much.
When will this construction take place?
And I believe it's scheduled to begin next week. Mr. Miller, is that correct?
The only thing we're waiting on right now is an answer from DP&L. We've met with DP&L, and there was a question regarding fees pertaining to a new service or relocation of the service. The gentleman said he would get back to us, and I believe we will very shortly. As a matter of fact, Wolford today contacted him, so they may already have an answer.
Well, I just got something. You said you're going to start construction on this soon?
Yes, sir.
This week? Yeah, I know, I just caught that.
We've been talking about it for a while.
Well, I know, but, for 6 months, but we've been talking on and off. We have, we just, little bits here, little bits
Well,
there.
you gotta envision what the other side is. I'm sorry, Mr. Fulham?
Right.
You said something I want to make sure I understand. Did you mention a four-way stop? You must not.
No, it's four-way line.
A four-way line?
Yes, sir.
See, I'm not the only one out there.
It's a four-way stop in my mind.
Well, and what it's gonna do for Airway Shopping Center, I mean, the vision I have is similar to what happened to like Town and Country. These outlots aren't gonna be like the old one where it's sat right on the street. It's gonna be back, and we're gonna utilize that whole parking area a lot better on these outlots. And it'll be more of a Town and Country, maybe Dayton Mall type look, rather than the 50s look that we have now.
Right, the basic premise is that that large sea of asphalt which exists today. The parking requirements then are not the same parking requirements today. So basically, the belief is that these outlots will all kind of share this communal parking, and because they can share this existing parking space, they're able to develop out by the road. Now, I can't say with whom, but I can say that in light of McDonald's commitment to relocate at this outlot and transgress this light, Airway Shopping Center is already having discussions with other retail entities that are not currently in that area about building new structures and providing stores at that location.
We were talking about stormwater before. Will Airway Shopping Center have to do something about stormwater abatement during this project?
With each individual site plan that comes in, depending upon how Airway Shopping Center is developing, so whether or not they are subleasing space, whether or not they are selling outright, each application will have to meet the stormwater requirements.
Any other questions for the manager? I just have a few comments basically. The EDGE grant for Mullins Rubber, congratulations staff. That's very, very good news, and when we can help out one of our own, that's with EDGE grant money, county money, and money we pay into in our sales tax. That's good news for Riverside. So very pleased about that. Congratulations to you on that. I just wanted to comment also on the Spinning Road Baptist Church thing. They were asking that, how can they help support us as a city? And, one of the things we might ask them is to make sure their folks know that there are boards and commissions they should be applying for. And we always need good candidates for that. Maybe that's a way that we can ask them to get involved. And hopefully the rest of the council will be thinking of ideas and ways that we can utilize the services of our churches, especially when they come forth asking us how we can help. Any other questions for the manager? Seeing none, we have public comment on agenda items, and there is no request for that. The one that I have is for non-agenda items, so we'll move to unfinished business. We'll move into ordinance number 120490. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This ordinance is before council tonight for the second reading and consideration of adoption related to airway TIF. Previously discussed.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Deputy Mayor Denning, second by Mr. Schock, and I ask that the clerk please read the ordinance by title only.
Ordinance number 12-0-490. Declaring improvements to certain parcels of real property located in the city of Riverside, Ohio, to be a public purpose under section 5789.40B of the Ohio Revised Code, exempting such improvements from real property taxation, requiring the owners of such parcels to make service payments in lieu of taxes, and establishing a municipal public improvement tax equivalent fund.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there any questions or discussions from member of council? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Next ordinance is ordinance number 120491. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This ordinance is brought forth to the second reading related to the Eintracht Recreation Project, authorizing the purchase of 2713 Troy Ultra pipe. Just as a note, this legislation tonight is for second reading and consideration of adoption. The owner of this parcel is in failing health, and we would ask that tonight you actually adopt this by emergency measure so that we may execute the purchase of this property with the owner while he's still in good health.
Okay, so we do that by adding that to the motion.
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. All right. At this time, I entertain a motion for approval of the second reading with the addition.
So moved.
It's been moved by Deputy Mayor Denning. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Smith. Clerk, please read the ordinance by title only.
Ordinance number 12-0-491. An ordinance authorizing the city manager to execute a sales agreement with the owner of land located at 2713 Troy Pike in Dayton, Montgomery County, Ohio, and being parcels R1702-17002037 to the amount of $22,000 in furtherance of the Eintracht recreational project.
All right, are there any questions or discussion by members of council? Mr. Smith was first, and Mr. Paul.
Where exactly is this property located in reference to the lane going back to line property?
This is the property that is located, as you were driving down the lane towards the club. It is the property that is on the right-hand side. It's actually in Dayton, located in the canal bed.
Is that that's the one further in towards the parking lot, or is that
That
the one
is-
on the right?
No, that is
That
correct.
sits back off the road.
This one is closer to the parking lot on the right. The one that you were referring to, Mr. Zanell's property, and that is the next piece of legislation, that's 2703.
That would be the one on the left, going down the lane.
That's correct. The one right on the corner.
Okay, I was talking about, as you go down that lane on the right, there's a house that sits back off to the right.
There's
Is that
three
the one
houses.
you're talking about?
Yeah.
So it's the last house on the right.
I don't know if it's the last house on the right, but it is the house on the right that sits away from the road, yes. It's the one that has the roof and some windows?
Yeah. I've
Yes,
seen
it's very, yes.
it. Okay.
It's a partial number.
All right, Mr. Bonkamp.
Help me understand the need for the emergency aspect. This is the second reading. We need this as an emergency because.
I will defer to Mr. Murray, but technically, the emergency provision waives the 30-day referendum period in which we would not
Okay.
execute any documents.
That's fine. Okay. I just want to make sure I understood it right. Thank you.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. No, it was included in the motion.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Campbell, what's the question?
Oh, we got two of them.
We just did ordinance number 120491. The next one will be 120492. We're going to do that now. Okay. Oh, okay. So next ordinance is number 120492. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This ordinance is before council tonight for a second reading, and is again related to the Eintracht Recreation Project and authorizes the purchase of 2703 Old Troy Pike. Mr. Murray, is this another second reading emergency measure?
We're trying to hold this deal together, and it's gone longer than what we thought. And this is Mr. Zanell's property. And so we're coming up against contractual deadlines here, and to go beyond, much further would create complications in the project. The sooner the better, and to get it resolved is what we're looking to do here. Usually we have in an ordinance of this nature, we'll have one clause will be to enter into the sales agreement, the next one will be to execute the purchase. And so that wasn't done with these, and so what we're trying to do is do both at the same time and cut the time frame down to make contractual obligations that we have with Mr. Zanell. So
Have you discussed this with Mr. Zanell? Is he okay with this? I
He's
don't have
okay
any
with
more
it
problems.
if we can get it done, yes,
He's okay with this.
absolutely.
So we're naming this one an emergency also?
To meet
That is
contractual
what-
deadlines.
Yes, that is what staff is
That is a
asking you to
request.
do.
Absolutely.
So by doing this, it speeds up the closing, is that what?
Yes,
we're talking
it
about?
Yes.
By about 30 days.
So
That's
moved.
what we, and I can fit that in. And all the money's in place by the state, so the sooner the better, and as you know, this has been a protracted process.
Okay.
Okay, Deputy Mayor has agreed to it. Mr. Smith, do you agree to the emergency?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, we didn't read it yet.
Did Mr. Smith second? I'm sorry.
Yes, it is. He agreed to it. Okay, so I think we're at the clerk. We'll read the ordinance.
Ordinance number
By title.
12-492. An ordinance authorizing the city manager to execute a sales agreement with the owner of land located at 2703 Old Troy Pike in Riverside, Montgomery County, Ohio, being parcels I-39-100-505-0031 and R-72-17002-0045 in the city of Dayton, for the amount of $25,000 in furtherance of the on-track recreational project.
Any questions or discussion by members of council? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same sign. Motion's carried. Next, we go into new business, and the next new business is ordinance number 120493. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This ordinance is before council tonight for the first reading regarding the on-track recreation project authorized to purchase 2707 Ocean Pike. Pursuant to discussion with Mr. Murray, in line with what you heard this evening, staff is recommending that council adopt this for a second reading by emergency. This is encompassed with both the 2713 and 2703 purchase.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Been moved by Deputy Mayor Denning, second by Mr. Smith, and,
That was Mr. Shaw.
I'm sorry, Mr. Schott. I'm very sorry. And, okay, now I gotta figure out where I am. Okay. Okay, city charter requires that the first reading of the ordinance be read aloud in its entirety prior to council vote of adoption. So if the clerk would please read the ordinance.
Ordinance number 12-0-493. An ordinance amending ordinance 110474, authorizing the city manager to proceed with the purchase of 2707 Orchard Pike in Riverside, Montgomery County, Ohio, for the amount of $189,000 in furtherance of the Ironton recreational project and declaring an emergency. Whereas the city of Riverside needs to acquire 5.906 acres of land located at 2707 Old Troy Pike in Riverside, Ohio, in furtherance of the Ironton recreational project under certain terms and conditions set forth in ordinance 11-0-474, and whereas the declarations of restrictions originally attached and incorporated to ordinance 11-0-474 as Exhibit A have been significantly revised since the adoption of said ordinance. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the City of Riverside, State of Ohio, Section 1, that the Riverside City Council hereby amends ordinance 11-0-474, adopted September 1st, 2011, by replacing its Exhibit A declarations of restrictions with the revised declarations of restrictions attached hereto as Exhibit A. Section 2. That the city manager is hereby authorized to accept the declaration of restrictions attached hereto as Exhibit A and proceed with the formal purchase of 2707 Old Troy Pike, Riverside, Ohio. Section 3. That this ordinance is hereby declared to be an emergency measure by reason of the public's health, safety, and welfare and shall take effect immediately upon its passage. The reason for said emergency is the need to close the transaction at the earliest possible time to ensure that the seller remains willing to sell the property.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any discussion from members of council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Smith?
Didn't we already agree to purchase this property and do an ordinance sometime back?
Well, I guess you should mention that. The council did pass legislation that authorized the city to negotiate a contract. And that legislation was via resolution. And you also enacted legislation which I believe was a resolution authorizing the city to enter into that agreement. However, based on conversations on other matters in which the city has transacted the sale of property, the law director made a more formal determination that she thought all legislation related to the sale of, to the purchase of property and the sale of property should be done by ordinance as opposed to resolution. So because of that, this particular piece of legislation was drafted and presented to the council.
Well, that raises another question. An ordinance is a law.
An ordinance is a permanent legislative act that defines council's intent or want. So I can tell you that this is an issue that we have had discussions about between myself, the law director, and the deputy law director, because there are several instances where courts have found that municipalities may sell, may purchase property utilizing resolutions as opposed to ordinances, and vice versa. And that further there property needs to be declared surplus by either resolution or by ordinance. So there is no definitive rule of thumb as what should be used or what shouldn't. And that is why the law director, after our last discussion, in particular with the Brandwood property, I believe is what it was, made the determination that in her opinion, all transactions related to property would be by ordinance, the permanent legislative act.
Okay. Because that's the difference between resolutions and ordinances. Ordinances are permanent, resolutions are things that happen, that may happen again in the future.
Think of it this way, it's the difference between using a period and an exclamation mark in a sentence.
Oh, is it only that minor?
No.
I'd say it's more than that.
I mean, that's the easiest way, to explain it. It is, one is to express an opinion or express a position, the other one is to do so more emphatically.
Okay. Interesting to know that.
Interesting concept.
Never heard it explained that way.
I'd draw you pictures if I had a dry erase board and easel.
Sure. We'll forego that. Okay, so let me see where we are here. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion from members of council? Okay, if not, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. The council has been requested to approve both first and second readings and consider final adoption. That is your will at this time. I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules that dictate the number of days between the first and second readings.
Second.
The motion is made by Mr. Schock, seconded by Deputy Mayor Denning. Is there any discussion from members of council? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same sign. Motion's carried. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the second reading and by title only and final adoption of the ordinance. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
And moved by Mr. Schock, second by Deputy Mayor Denning. Would the clerk please read the ordinance by title only?
Ordinance number 12-0-493, an ordinance amending ordinance 11-474, authorizing the city manager to proceed with the purchase of 2707 Old Ford Pike in Riverside, Montgomery County, Ohio, for the amount of $189,000 in furtherance of the Pine Top recreational project and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any discussion on the motion by members of council? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Okay, next ordinance is ordinance number 120490. I'm sorry, 120494. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This ordinance is brought forth for council's consideration tonight as both first and second reading as a supplemental appropriation to the current 2012 budget. The purpose for this request is related to the purchase of radios by the fire department through a reimbursable grant from the federal government. For the first and second reading request is so that Chief Turner has the availability to purchase the radios on a discount, which expires, I believe, first of next week, Chief, is that correct? The discount on the radios, discount pricing?
It happens to be the 21st of June, our next meeting here.
Okay, so just prior to our next meeting. So that is the reason for the request.
Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Been moved by Mr. Schock, seconded by Deputy Mayor Denning. Is there any discussion on the motion? So, okay, now that we've got general government, could you explain exactly why, where, I mean, I know you explained about the fire, but so that general government, well, go ahead and explain this page.
Okay. The $10,000 increase in general government is to account for the necessary expenses to provide for a first-class mailing to every property address in the city of Riverside related to the proposed UDO, or council's request. Okay. The $107,000 transfer out will be distributed to Fund 201, which is to cover the radios until such time as the city is reimbursed, at which point in time the $96,000 check that will come from the federal government will be deposited and transferred back to the general. The $6,500 into Fund 215, the EDGE fund, is to cover the city's matching contributions on the Dayton, Greater Dayton RTA community grant funds projects from last year and from this year. Now, this is the city's required contribution. There are also dollars that will be transferred. It's a loan. So there will be another legislation at the next meeting loaning the reimbursable amount to the EDGE fund until such time as the grant is complete and RTA makes its payment cost of the attention to that is next week. And then finally, the state of Ohio requires that those persons that are going to be indigent that reside here, that it is the city's responsibility to cover their burial costs. Okay. Unfortunately, based on past trends, we do not budget sufficient funds to cover those expenses. So we are asking the council to increase that because we are required by law to pay for those, and we are running out of dollars in that fund.
Mr. Fontaine?
And that accounts for 1 or 2 burials?
That's
six.
6.
We had 4 so far.
$700, $750.
Now, are we
Just for cremation.
cremation?
And then we're putting in the Harshman Cemetery?
We are just required to pay for their interment in whatever capacity that is deemed to be best by, I believe it's the coroner's office. Is that correct?
In our case, we're paying for the cremation services, and then next of kin or whatever, we don't have resources we're actually accepting the ashes or whatever. Otherwise, we'd have to pay an additional amount to bury those.
I see. So if we cremate them, they accept the ashes, it's their responsibility.
Right.
They don't,
Mr. Fulkins first.
And these are for residents,
Yes,
current residents of Riverside.
that's correct.
Mr. Smith?
they don't keep the ashes until the family comes forward and pays the monies owed on those, or you're saying they release the ashes to the family?
What if there's no family?
I don't necessarily know. I don't have the ability to answer that question. That's a procedural issue that's addressed by the county. I don't know if Mr. Garrett has an answer as well, but that's outside of the scope of our service.
Just curious.
Yeah, we don't want to be keeping them around here.
Now, you say by law we have to do this?
There's an Ohio Revised Code provision that
There's
requires
an
us
ORC
to do so.
code.
Yes, sir.
Is it because we had graveyards?
I believe that is the requirement that is applied to all appropriations.
All for grave?
I believe that is correct, sir. I'm not highly familiar with that provision of the Ohio
I'm
Revised
not
Code.
either. You're totally, I know in the graveyard, we're in the business of doing that. But I've never heard a provision where we have to pay for the cremation or burial, which is ever, comes first, of a person who passed away or sick. This has really got me in a little oddball spot. It sounds like, now that even the cities are taking care of people cradle to grave.
You're a government.
I expect to hear that from the federal government, down here, all the way down in our little old cities.
Well, we've had this, I know, in the past, we've had this legislation. It does bring an interesting debate.
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion on the motion? Okay, so we are taking a vote.
You took a look first.
Okay, please read the ordinance.
Ordinance number 12-0-494. An ordinance to make supplemental appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Riverside, state of Ohio, for the period January 1 through December 31st, 2012, and declaring an emergency. Whereas the acting director of finance does report and recommend that certain supplemental appropriations be made, now therefore be it ordained by council of the city of Riverside, state of Ohio. Section 1, that the council of the city of Riverside, state of Ohio, to provide for current and other expenditures for the period January 1 through December 31st, 2012, following additional sums and amounts as listed in Exhibit A attached hereto and incorporated herein by this ordinance be and they are hereby set aside and appropriated as a supplemental appropriation to the existing appropriation. Section 2, that the acting director of finance is hereby authorized to draw warrants from the city treasury for payments from the foregoing supplemental appropriation as authorized by legislation and council to make appropriations. Section 3, that this ordinance is hereby declared to be an emergency measure necessary for the immediate preservation of the public peace, health, and safety in the city for the reason that certain appropriations must be adjusted to meet legal requirements, and this ordinance being an appropriation ordinance shall take effect immediately upon its passage as provided for in the charter.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any other discussion on the motion by members of council? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Opposed, the same sign. Motion's carried. Okay, we've been asked, council has been requested to approve both the first and second reading and consider final adoption. If that is the will at this time, I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules that dictate the number of days between the first and second reading.
So moved.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Schock, is there a second?
Second.
Then second by Deputy Mayor Denning. Is there any discussion from members of council? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the second reading by title only and final adoption. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Been moved by Mr. Schock, second by Deputy Mayor Denning. Ask the clerk, please read the title by the ordinance by title only.
Ordinance number 12-0-494. An ordinance to make supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Riverside, state of Ohio for the period January 1 through December 31st, 2012, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, are there any questions or discussions from member of council? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion's carried. Next piece of legislation is resolution number 12R1676. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As a result of former Finance Director Gooding's retirement, the city is required to update its representatives for the Regional Income Tax Authority. This resolution does so.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Deputy Mayor Denning, second by Mr. Schock. Is there any discussion on the motion?
So you're going to give him a nameplate now instead of just the word finance?
Well, we're working through that. We got a couple other things we got to get there, but we're talking.
Now, can there be any council members on this, or as an alternate? Or?
I don't believe that there's any exclusion for the elected officials.
Okay, because you are the alternate.
That is correct.
Okay. Anyone on council would rather be the alternate?
I think it's beneficial to have finance director or someone on staff, because they have full-time access to the agency, and I think that's beneficial to the city.
Thank you, Ms. Kerr. Okay, any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Next motion is, resolution number 12R1677. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This resolution has authorized the city to submit an application for the Victims of Crime advocate position, which is currently staffed by Ms. Bricker. This legislation is annual ongoing legislation before council. Tonight, Ms. Bricker is here in the audience to answer any questions the council may have regarding her time in this position, the services that she performs, and the importance of this piece of legislation.
Okay, well, welcome, Ms. Bricker. If you would please step forward, and if you would like to give a small presentation, and we'd appreciate it.
Sure. This year, the federal VOCA grant was cut 12% federally. So we were not impacted by the full 12%. The City of Riverside Victim Services was recognized for upholding the 3 pillars of the VOCA grant. So the decrease that would be impacted by the city should be less than $1,000. So I think that that's pretty significant, given that there was a 12% decrease overall. And I think it's nice that the City of Riverside is being recognized for their ability to uphold the 3 pillars of the Victim Advocate Program. And if you have any questions, I'll have to answer for you.
Very good. Any questions from members of council?
Glad to see you back, or not you back, but somebody back to take over.
Glad you're working. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing all your work. I know it's not easy sometimes.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you, Ms. Bricker. Is there any other questions from members of council or a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Deputy Mayor Denning, second by Mr. Schock. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Next motion, the next resolution is resolution number 12R 1678. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This resolution is to approve recommended changes to the solid waste management plan for the county solid waste district.
So moved.
You want to second it?
No, not.
Always get the on the floor.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Schock. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Fulenkamp. Any discussion on the motion?
Is there a change? I mean, what kind of change is that here?
This is just the basic information that's in the plan. City populations change, city demographics change. The rules of how the district operates are required to be updated from time to time by both the federal and state EPA. So I won't say that these are regular changes, but the plan is required to be updated from time to time, and this is one of those times when the plan is being updated.
This is pretty much our stamp of approval on the county's.
Right, this is the consortium, so we are a voting member of the consortium, so this is us saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ms. Campbell, is there any big changes?
Yeah, I'm just curious, is there a price change?
Well, I can't say, the price does fluctuate from time to time, but that is not solely encompassed within the plan itself.
So what happens if we don't approve this?
Nothing.
All of the other members will approve it, so,
Was it 60% or 66%?
yeah, I believe it's 66, I think is what it is. It's the 2/3 majority.
That's it. Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Next resolution is resolution number 12R 1679. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This resolution is to authorize the city to submit an application to Montgomery County for a community development block grant. And this one is specific to the Riverside Neighborhood Stabilization Program Phase 4.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Mr. Schock, second by Deputy Mayor Denning. Any discussion on the motion?
Just as a point of clarification, 79. The grant application is indeed for $100,000. The city's pledging to add an additional $20,000. So the project budget will be $120,000.
And the project was?
This is for demolition, neighborhood stabilization.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion from members of council? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same sign. Motion's carried. Next resolution is another resolution number 12R 1680. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This resolution is authorized the State Baptist Church to place temporary signs on the right of way to return to condition.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Mr. Schock, second by Deputy Mayor Denning. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Discussion.
Yes, sir.
As I've commented in the past, I'd like to see everybody have their signs. But since the council has a policy that doesn't provide for everybody to automatically be allowed to place their signs in the right of way, as some others are allowed to, and since the law director has communicated to the council that its policy and ordinance is not legal, and since the federal courts have ruled that ordinances and policies like these are a violation of people's constitutional rights to free speech, I'm not going to vote on this or any others like these that come before the council until the council fixes its ordinance and policy.
Well, by not voting on it, it's a nay vote, and you're voting against allowing somebody to violate the Constitution. So I would actually, go ahead and vote until we can reconcile the ordinance, according to the current court rulings out there.
I'll make the same comment I made earlier. I want everybody to be able to put a sign out there, so I'm not violating anybody's free speech rights. I've said I want everybody to be able to put the signs out there. And the issue of the city adjusting, modifying this ordinance has already come before this council. It came before this council at the last council meeting, and the council majority voted it down. And so those words about having the council, giving the council time to adjust this ordinance have just fallen on deaf ears. So my position is still the same. I want everybody to have their sign. The city's ordinance and policies prohibit that from happening, and so I'm not voting on any more of these until the ordinance gets fixed.
But we're not prohibiting. All they have to do is come forward with a request. It doesn't matter who they are or what they are. And that way we can pass proper legislation for them to put out signs in the locations they desire, and go on and exercise their right of freedom of speech. But once again, you have to, if you are for that Constitution of freedom of speech, you have to be a yes vote. If you're against the freedom of Constitution of speech, it's a no vote. And by not voting, it's a no vote.
Well, you're trying to put words in my mouth, and I'm not going to.
You're doing it automatically.
You don't have to put it in your mouth. I'll refer you back to the May 3 meeting, the minutes from the May 3 meeting, where the law director said the very fact that there is an approval process that's required is a violation of the law.
No, the approval process is not.
Well, that's the opinion that was given to you directly from the law director when you asked the law director to come here and talk to you about this ordinance and the policies and procedures. So you can take it up with the law director. I've stated my position, and I'm not voting on any more of these.
Thank you. Mr. Fontaine?
So Mr. Schock, you can't envision something you would vote against on the signage?
I won't vote against it.
You won't, you cannot?
If the Ku Klux Klan wants to come out here and put signs up, I will allow that, because it's a freedom of speech.
Okay. You stated your position.
So, can we bring, with the opposing side of the legislation that was passed, wasn't passed, be willing to bring back the discussion? So
we have another. We already have a motion and a second before. You're
okay.
throwing something else out. You can't do that right now, Mr. Mayor.
Can we put off to the next time with the law director in here again?
well, if we bring back the discussion, but right now we have a motion to approve the resolution of the sign, and we can't wait on that because it happens next week.
The way the law director stated it, you put one, you're going to have the other, da-da-da, two, da-da-da.
Let them, if you look past the law that comes in front of us, they'll understand.
Well, see, if you're going to allow, if you're taking the position that you're going to approve all of them to come here, then you don't need the ordinance.
Right, and that's where...
You don't even need to have a requirement that they come here.
Right, and that's why I want to talk about bringing it back. But,
Right, well, right now, everything's still the same as it was before. We're just
Exactly.
going through a lot of stuff we need to not.
So we need to abolish that
But we need to bring it back to do that. But okay, so let's do this resolution and then have a discussion about bringing back.
I didn't know what Mike said.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike.
I guess so we have to abolish that part of our zoning ordinance that relates to signs, replacement of signs in the right of way.
Right.
Zoning.
Okay.
So.
We need to bring it back, but let's
vote on this.
do this resolution first, okay? Any other discussion on this resolution? Would you like a roll call?
Roll call vote.
Roll call vote, please. Please call the roll.
Yes.
Mr. Denny?
Yes.
Ms. Campbell?
Pass.
Mr. Fullerton?
I abstain.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Campbell?
Abstain.
Mayor Cloudy?
Yes. The motion carries.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
I don't believe my name is called.
Yeah.
Did you call him? Well, he was,
I did call,
but he wasn't-
call Mr.
you
Curtis,
said-
he said he's not voting, but.
he's
Mr.
not
Curtis-
voting.
But I still have to have my name called. If it's a roll call vote, I still have to have my name
Mr. Curtis?
not voting.
So,
Okay.
So the motion fails.
All right, then that resolution
Is it done?
is finished.
4 yes, there's a
I'm
4.
sorry, how did it?
Four yes.
The mayor, just.
Oh, the mayor, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I thought the mayor
Yeah,
voted. My apologies.
Let's go away here.
So, okay, well, let's do the rest of the resolutions, and we'll have the discussion about bringing it back. Okay, resolution number 12R1681, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This resolution has authorized the city to submit an application to Montgomery County for community development block grant funds in support of the Franklin Road reconstruction project.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Is there a motion? The motion's been made by Deputy Mayor Denny, second by Mr. Schock. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion's carried. Next motion, or next resolution is number 12R1682. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This resolution has authorized the city to enter into a contract with Motorola Solutions for the purchase of communication equipment to the state of Washington bid.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Is there a motion?
And there's a second.
It's been moved by Deputy Mayor Denny, second by Mr. Schock. Is there any discussion on the motion? Mr. Fulenkamp.
Looking at the 10% requirement, you're suggesting there are about $8,000 worth of accessories and what covered by the grant
That is,
in the ballpark.
yeah, correct.
I just want to make sure I understood that.
Yes. Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion's carried. Now we'll move into public comment on non-agenda items. We have a person request to speak, Samantha. Samantha, would you please come forward and talk about your issues?
I understand that it's only June, but Halloween's around the corner for me. And every year, Halloween seems to be on a different date, and this year it was on a weekday. So I have objections on 2 points on that. One is a mother of trying to get kids off the bus, get ready, get dinner, get them out the door, and get them in bed enough time so they're not crazy for teachers the next morning. And the second part is, as a military member, my family lives in New York, so they come visit for Halloween. And they can't do it when it's on a weekday. It's easier when it's on the last Saturday of October. So I am pleading that we move Halloween to the last Saturday of October. And if need be, I would even petition out to the City of Riverside members to sign a petition to have it the last Saturday of October.
Well, Mr. Mayor, that's up to you.
Okay, that would be on October 27th versus Wednesday, Tuesday, October 3rd. No, Wednesday, October 3rd.
Why don't we do this every year?
Yeah, the Mayor's and Managers Association makes that decision.
I think it should be every year it's the last Saturday of October, not just this coming year.
So
Make it.
can that be part of the discussion with the city managers?
Yeah, because we as a body don't make that decision. The
We'll have that
mayor does.
discussion.
At their formal meeting, they have the mayors and managers of all the cities, in Montgomery County, and they discuss when the date is set. So he's going to carry your message to that meeting, so will the city manager, because they're there, and they're going to express your concerns
Okay, between now and then, I'd like council's input though, so.
Well, I think it's a great idea.
And for your
Okay.
calendar, maybe we can mark Tuesday the 30th as the night of Halloween.
Tuesday the 30th. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I was wrong.
That's all.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We'll take that into consideration.
Well, no.
Okay, so there's been,
She wasn't done this year.
Yeah.
I'm
We're
sorry.
doing it this year, right?
right.
Okay.
If there is, the city can set its own date for Beckersman. Okay, the reason that it is done the way that it is done is because in previous years, what would happen is Riverside would do it on its night, so Dayton residents would come and trick or treat in Riverside, and then Dayton would do their night on a different night, so Riverside residents would go to Dayton and vice versa. So to address that problem,
And it caused confusion.
the mayors and managers group adopted a policy that Beggars Night will always fall on Halloween Day, under certain exceptions, one being Friday, because Friday is football. The other is, the other exception is Wednesday night, which is a night of religious observation for several worship groups. So, in those instances, it will always fall on the 30th. In the event the 31st falls on those 2 days.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask the young lady a question.
Very
I mean,
good.
Is this, you feel is more of an Air Force-wide sort of issue?
I've talked to other parents that live in Page Manor and some other military people, well, the prairies, whatever they want to be called. And they have discussed the same concern of, and even discussing it with parents who aren't a military, that just getting their kid and hurry up getting them dressed and then trying to unsugar them to put them to bed. And I see it from both a military problem that I've talked to them and non-military people that I'm friends with in the city of Riverside, that they're having the same issues that I'm having with it.
Thanks. Thank you, thank you.
Would it be on Tuesday?
That's what it's gonna
Tuesday
be
the
this
30th.
year.
You're in the same situation with T-sugar and the kids and getting them in bed for
So
school.
that's what she said, that's why she wants it on Saturday.
That's why I came in the month of June hoping to do something before October comes.
Ma'am, I'd actually recommend that perhaps maybe you talk with, I'm trying to think of the management company, and actually regulate internally. I mean, there's 3,000 residents of Page Manor alone that you actually be able to advertise and communicate internally. So that way, you as an organization and you as a group of citizens who have a certain particular need might be able to address and accommodate that need in a way that best suits you, but doesn't create issues for the
I
extended
don't live in
population.
Page Manor, I live
Oh.
off
Oh,
base.
okay.
I live in the actual city of
Oh,
Riverside.
okay.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Okay, we move on to council member comments. Are there any council member comments at this time? Mr. Fulenkamp.
Had a conversation and with someone the other day. We had a resident, Connie Cole, who, June 5th luncheon, and I'm assuming these were Republicans, so. Don't give me
Okay.
crap.
We'll leave it at that.
There were 7 ladies selected for the honor of leading ladies of Montgomery County, and Mrs. Connie Cole was one of those 7 selected. Jeff Jacobson presented a brief history of her lifelong dedication and her many years of service to Benner Township and to the region, and to the city of Riverside. Mrs. Cole received a lion head lapel pin. Believe me, I don't know what that is, but I'm sure it's quite nice. And proclamations from John Husted and Republican Party Chairman Bob Bennett, thanking her for her many years of service. Mrs. Cole has been a member of the local Republican Club for 38 years, and I think we owe a lot to people like her. I think her service to our community is quite impressive. When you see her, pat her on the back and say, good job. So,
Thank you.
that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Fulenkamp. Appreciate it. Anybody else? Okay, then I have first of all, I want to talk about bringing back the discussion of the sign ordinance and from what the city manager tells me and from what I can understand of this, the discussion would go back to the planning commission. Mr. Manager, could you explain why that step is important? Because there were some questions about that earlier.
The reason that the request will go before the planning commission is that the code mandates text amendments to first be heard at the planning commission level and recommended to city council. Okay? So while city council can initiate and direct the planning commission to amend the particular section of the zoning ordinance, the planning commission will review and evaluate and make a recommendation back. Okay? And that is all spelled out within the existing code, 1171 change, if I remember correctly. So that is why that step is there.
Okay, thank you. And I don't want this to be hanging out there. I didn't like what the last ordinance looked like, so I obviously voted no. So, we've got to have some give and take on this thing, but I'd like to have it brought before the thing.
My issue with the resolution the last time, it was directed, the way I read it, it was directing them to specifically cut out that we approve all signs, but it was going to stay the same, and basically there were going to be no signs allowed. If we're going to send it back to them, I want it to be open so that they can run their whatever and come back to us with an open regulation. And I would prefer that we can permit signs, or however we're going to do it, but that we allow signs in the right of way. So, and I would like them to look at that in a more open manner than us telling them, this is what we want, we just want this cut and send it back to us. I don't want it to be that way. And that's the way I understood the resolution that we were passing the last time.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Here is a little idea that I have talked with the city manager and Delma that we can send to the planning commission and have him look at something. You remember what we talked about?
Oh, I wrote it, so I...
Okay. And there is an idea that we bounced off, all three of us, but not at the same time. I was kind of like talking to the city manager and then talking to me here. And there's an idea there. I mean, it's not cluttering up our right-of-ways, but again, it allows all our groups to put them in prime areas, but on private property. But I just, this is something I would like to see sent to the planning commission and have them review it and, tweak it, then send it back and see what we think about it, their tweaks, and approve it, or, send it back to them again. And if we can bounce this back and forth to the planning commission a couple times, if we so desire, but we have, the mayor who's the ex officio on that, who pretty much know what we want, and that can eliminate the bouncing back and forth that sometimes that can happen when you have two different governmental groups working. So there's my, since I was on the no vote side, this is what I would like to make a motion to start the process with this letter in front of you.
Mr. Follenkamp?
Mr. Denning, in terms of turning us over to the planning commission, should we inform them of the potential legal liability that we're in with the current situation?
I think they should be informed that if there is, and I think most of them will do homework, or I'm sure staff will inform them that, it isn't that the place, my understanding of where we could run into our legal situation is by making a decision who and who cannot put signs up. So what I'm saying is, rather than just say no to everybody, we limit what the law director said we could limit, which was size, duration, and number.
It's all right there.
Okay? So if we limit the size to a maximum of, I don't know, 16 square feet, and we maximize, and we limit the total number of square footage to, I don't know, 160 square feet. Okay?
All the signs combined?
All the signs combined. Okay? So that would give them a maximum of 10 signs. You could even limit that they couldn't be within 200 feet of each other. Doesn't matter to me. But that way, folks are allowed to put signs up.
So, I understand. So,
And duration.
so if I want to put a sign up for my birthday, I'm going to come before you guys and I can put.
You don't come before us. It's a permit.
You get
by the
So
city.
anybody can put a sign up.
Just like you get a garage sale permit.
Did you read this?
Yeah, but
Okay.
this doesn't address the right of way.
Well, no.
It doesn't
we
address
don't
the
want
right,
them in
but
the
that's my
right of way.
concern.
I still say it should be.
Well, so.
I don't know if we're going to, Ken.
And that's what I mean, this right here, I mean, there's enough public, private, property owners out there on the main street, thank you, that you can utilize them.
But that, I mean, that was the heart of our discussion before, is that we know that that's allowed. I mean, we know that we can put.
Yeah, but this is
Signs
like the size
outside of the
and
property.
everything, this gives you more size, and it doesn't keep up, it can't be there forever.
So you want the ability to put larger signs up in private property?
For how long?
I'm just trying to.
Well, this is
understand.
just,
Let's see,
like I
Let's
said,
you and I have a discussion.
I'm like Mr. Denny, I would like to see this, but I'd like to see it in the right of way.
well, let's go ahead, like I said, I'll be more willing to make a motion to send this piece forward and see what they come up with. Just get the ball moving.
I think we should.
This is just
I think we should give them.
No, I don't want to give them no guidance.
I think we should
This
give them.
will give them a brief, there's enough guidance right there, let them take it, oops, I'm sorry, let them take it on their own. I don't want to be over, your favorite word, micromanaging.
Right
to the T.
Exactly.
See, no, wait.
All we're saying is this ordinance needs to be changed. Here's the legalities that we are trying to
Right.
overcome. What is your answer? That's it.
Well, this is,
Yeah.
and this
And I'm saying, let them come up with.
Set a limit
the
of
answer.
time for this time to be out.
It says here, yeah.
Did you read it?
Let me,
Quickly.
You need to read it
2
all.
weeks, is that what you said?
No, you need to read it all. Read it, it's there in front of you, don't ask me.
I skimmed through it real quick, but it said 2 weeks.
Skip, yes.
Okay, well, what about when the political time comes up? They put theirs out a month ahead of time.
Political signs would be
Yeah.
exempt.
If you, the way that this language was drafted is after, I believe it was after the last council meeting. Mr. Schock came to me and he said, hey, could you propose a solution to this problem where these community and civic organizations could have signage, but not within the right of way? And so,
That's the way it is now.
no, it's not.
No.
It's not. The code is very muddled in this way, and not everyone and not everything is entitled to signage or in a size or in a time frame. So the short version is, in a few minutes, this is what I was able to put together based on the guidance that the law director had previously provided. Understanding that while the primary focus of this is that sign content regulation now falls on the private property owner and not on the city. Right? Assuming that language similar to this or resembling this in some way, shape, or form is recommended by the Planning Commission and adopted by council, there are several caveats that have to go into this because political signage is exempt and there's holiday decorations, and so there's all kinds of stuff that has to be built into the, into this language in the event the Planning Commission recommends it and the council adopts it. I mean, garage sales are going to be exempt. There's a special section for that. Real estate signs. So there are all those. There's commercial signage as opposed temporary commercial signage as opposed to promotional signage for community and civic organizations. which is what this language is about. So you've got, so there are a lot of things that need to be worked out, but this is just the basic framework.
But no political,
There are separate.
right away or off the highway?
Correct.
Is that fair to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
ma'am.
you're not running again, are you?
That's
what
not
you go
important. Okay, so, but we're, Mr. Smith.
Real quickly, looking at number 4 on this sheet of paper, you have here that the signs to be no more than 12 square feet each. That's 3 by 4 in a residential yard.
That's what we got.
And not, no more than 24 square feet, so that's 2 signs, 3 feet by 4 feet, or 6 feet by 2 feet.
That's sign areas there, so basically you can have a double-sided front and back sign.
Oh, you call it, so you count that twice, 1 sign twice.
Yeah.
If it has a message on this side, and it has a message on that side, that's 2 signs.
Yeah, but it's 1 sign.
It's one board.
Okay. Okay, so if we agree to this, then we would get a resolution that says we want to send it to the,
Well,
We don't even have to do a
you don't agree to anything. What you would do is you would ask the planning commission to examine
okay.
and recommend an amendment, a textual amendment to the zoning code that would either A, allow all temporary signage to be placed within the right of way, or B, to prohibit all temporary signage placed within the right of way, but to offer other language to accommodate civic and community signage.
I don't want to give them A or B. I want them to be creative, come up with, look
Well,
at
that's
this,
their answer.
and come up with that.
Yeah, that's the true answer. It's either A, we're gonna allow all, or B, we're gonna allow none, and we're gonna have a caveat the other way.
Mr. Shock, you don't want to give them this one either.
I do want to give them this, but I don't want to say none, put the word none out there. I don't want to give them the
But
option
you do
of
want to
none.
guide them.
Yeah,
All or nothing?
Well,
yeah, I don't want to get, the all or none thing.
No,
I
or
think-
do
Well,
what
that's
you
the
feel.
way it should be.
That's
It's not
right.
fair to
But
everybody.
just say
It's
give
not
them
fair.
this.
but
That's
Mr.
correct.
Schott, you said before that the mayor is an ex officio member of that.
Right.
So he can have some input.
Yeah, I
So
will,
I don't necessarily think we need that.
Be all or nothing.
I will do that.
Well, I think when you have this meeting
Limitations.
with the planning board, that you have it with the law director present, so she can explain any questions they may have.
That would be fine. And we can do that. Right? Just
We
ask
can
for
see that we do have several opinions and rather lengthy minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, but sometimes there can be questions popping up, but yeah.
No, there's no problem with that. I'm sorry. Yeah, we will do that. Good.
Well, we could all go to the planning meeting.
No.
Okay,
Down to
all right, so if you make that happen, Mr. Manager, I think council is in favor of that. Okay, all right, just shortly, I did 15 weddings in the last 3 weeks, $750, I think. And I'm having fun with them. I represented the city in attending Community Action Partnership Award Breakfast for Suburbs meeting, and had a mayor's prayer breakfast in Xenia that I had attended. Went to the change of command ceremony at Wright-Patterson, where General Hoffman gave up command, and General Wolfenbarger, Beaver Creek graduate, came in and first female ever to be a 4-star general. It was a great event. I've never seen so many 4-star generals in one place before. It was truly amazing, and I was really proud to be part of that history. Attended the farewell event for County Commissioner Debbie Feldman. Many of you might know her. She is moving on as CEO of the Children's Medical Center. So they had a very nice event, and I represented you there. So bike rodeo is coming up Saturday, June 9th at Beverly Gardens Elementary. So please be aware of that, and please come out and help. They can use the help there. So next thing was I did get a thank you letter from the AFA saying that they're very pleased that we are members again. So if anyone wants to see that, that's up here. And that is all I have. Is there any other discussion brought before the council?
I would like to thank everybody that did come out to the Relay for Life.
Darn, I didn't get a pie in the face.
And I know, we tried this whole 300 and some.
Give me a minute.
But it was a well-attended event for the community, and it turned out very well for everyone. The manager didn't have to take a pie. The deputy chief didn't have to take a pie. I don't know whether that's good or whether they threaten people. But the manager has said that if the administrative staff and or the fire staff come up with their $200 fundraiser, he was willing to take the pie out here in the bay, and we'll get pictures and get it up on the website if and when that happens. I would like to say thank you to the fire department. They were out there running around in their pink shirts, and on Saturday they were all the way around the edge of the track, and they got a call, and they had put on their bunker gear to make it a positive thing for the whole thing, and lo and behold, they're the farthest away they could be from their equipment, and the tones dropped, and they had to come running across the field, which is a really neat sight with air packs on, and these guys are out of breath. But also, then Sunday morning, the next crew came in, and we had our Beat the Car Up out there with different names of cancer on it, and we offered them the opportunity for training, and they took it. And it brought all of our folks that were there that morning together, because they got to see the fire department do a demonstration of the Jaws of Life, which was a really neat thing to see. And they got a brand new guy that got training, and it was a lot of fun for everybody, and it was a very positive experience for everyone that was involved there. We were able to, in that day alone, the final total was in the neighborhood of $21,000. The goal is still $40,000, and we still have until mid-August to reach that. So we're still reaching for the stars. But I want to thank everybody. The mayor, Mr. Smith, Mr. Schock came out. The manager was there. Mr. Miller came out, and Deputy Chief was there. So it was well attended.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Is there anything else be brought before council? There's a motion by Ms. Campbell to adjourn. Second by Mr. Schock. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. We are adjourned. Thank you. Thank you all for coming.